Spillage Village is one of the only modern successful rap groups, with over 4 of their members being signed to major label deals and being able to be considered mainstream artists. Today we're going to look into the origin of Spillage Village and what made them so successful. Spillage Village is a rap group that was founded in 2010 in Atlanta, Georgia by the group Earthgang. If you don't know the individual members, we have Johnny Venus and we have Dr. Dot. They're going to be a little more important to differentiate a little later into the story. They went to the same school as JID and they heard some of his songs floating around from his mixtape Cakewalk and his other one called James Hall. They saw potential in JID, so they added him to the group, and then Dr. Dot was at a party a few months later and would end up adding Hollywood JB to the group, and someone who's rumored to be his brother, but it's not necessarily confirmed, named Jordan Bryant. Something interesting about Spillage Village is they put an emphasis on the artists exploding as individuals rather than the whole group working with and exploding together. Now, it seemed like they wanted a group that could constantly use each other as features instead of having to pay a ton of people, and they could work back and forth with talented artists for free, and every once in a while they would come together and put out an album together. Now, this is notable because in the first 4 years, Spillage Village didn't drop an album. Now, on February 2nd of 2014, they did finally put out an album called Bears Like This, and it wouldn't explode the careers of any of them really, but it would get the ball rolling in them working as a group, and it would become more consistent after this.
Out the pot, the pissin', I piss in the parking lot, put my dick in the tightest spot, leave the victim in God's garage, the definitive intersection where heaven and hell collide. Purgatory, not a story, that's really where I reside.
Now, a little bit after this project, they would end up adding 2 new artists to Spillage Village. The first one was the first female in the group, named Mariva, coming off of her song September. Now, this wasn't that big of a surprise because she did already have features with JID and with Earthgang, but the other artist, 6 Lack, was kind of a surprise. Oh my god, Matt, it's Black, it's not 6 Lack. I already recorded the video. What do you want me to do? It's 6 Lack right now. Because he wasn't even in the state until very recently. He came into the state, moved in with Earthgang, and talked about how he was very frustrated with this label deal that he had just forced his way out of. Talking about separating from the label, he would say, "I've seen what it's like for people to basically be built into something and not really have an identity or a personality for themselves." So I'm sure he felt as though Spillage Village, being a collective of independent artists, was a bit refreshing and it would allow him to express himself. I know a lot of people are going to recognize 6 Lack from DiCaprio 2, but he actually featured on DiCaprio 1 around the same time that he joined Spillage Village. In 2015, Spillage Village would put out Bears Like This 2, in which they featured only OG Mako, who wasn't part of the group, but he actually was in the conversation and did make the 2015 XXL freshman list.
Man, my grandfather told me that I'm losing my mind. Yeah. The only thing I'm doing here is wasting my time. Yeah. The only thing you want from me is truth with no lies. The only thing I want to do is sleep because I'm tired.
It's notable that the entire group did improve on this album, but mainly people noticed the increased production from Hollywood JB, which would really bring the group a lot further ahead than their last album. This is a time where the group got very lucky and fate took over for a little bit. Earthgang got a deal to do some openers, and they would allow JID to come and perform 1 song as part of their opener and kind of forfeit a song that they could perform themselves, which is a bit of a risk, but it gives JID a little bit of a chance. At one of these concerts, they were backstage with an artist called Boz, which if you're not familiar with him, he's signed to J. Cole's label Dreamville, and J. Cole would actually be at this concert to see his new signee Boz perform for the first time. Now, Earthgang went and opened up, and J. Cole was pleasantly surprised at how well they were as an artist despite being such underground people. Then JID went and performed his single, and J. Cole was, it was so surprising to see these guys go out and kill it right before his major artist. So he decided that he would go and he would invite them to a studio session, which inevitably it seems like other members would go to of Spillage Village, such as Hollywood JB. Hollywood JB might actually be a key person in the group that tied Earthgang, JID, and J. Cole together, because he gave J. Cole a beat to perform on right at the start of the studio session, which J. Cole fell in love with. This beat would end up being used on the song called Jermaine's Interlude on DJ Khaled's Major Keeler album, and it would end up getting a feature from not only J. Cole, but Earthgang, and giving Hollywood JB major credit in the production lane.
Tables do turn and labels do burn. The second they ask you to sell your soul, don't you do it, don't you fold. Say fuck that shit and be bold, cause all them
What people did not know at the time is that this portion of the song was just a snippet of a larger Spillage Village song that would contain JID, Earthgang, J. Cole, and Boz, and it would be released as anticipation for their albums Bears Like This Too Much.
Miseducated, unemployed, get deployed in the week. Them snatch my body and my soul was exploited for free. Now occupations getting sold, shipped and sold overseas.
This album had major features such as J. Cole, Boz, and Quentin Miller. Now these features would get a lot of buzz going for the group, but also there were some huge producers on here. I'm talking guys like Mac Miller, Childish Major, J. Cole, and once again, Hollywood JB. Earthgang would go on to describe the Bears trilogy as the first album being just them messing around with the sound, seeing what they could do a little bit. The second one being when they all had a bit more experience, started touring and things like that. And the third one being when they all had independent careers, started for themselves, and really had things to focus on. All of this led to, in 2017, Earthgang and JID getting signed to Dreamville, and them appearing with Six Lack, Mariba, and Hollywood JB on Revenge of the Dreamers 3.
Yeah, he without sin cast the first song to a nigga with a gun, nigga running your home, one don't shot niggas and never look at them wrong again. Oh my god, on this licking, they call twisted.
Random place for this random amount of time in the beginning of the year to start the year off is monumentally crazy. Like, this is how the year's starting off.
Now, after this, all of the individuals would focus on their independent careers, and this would lead to rumors that the group was going to break up like many other rap groups do when a few of the individuals become more successful than the others. But of course, this did not happen when they announced Spillage in 2020. A little bit had changed. Earthgang at this point had decided just before the album that they would add Benji to the group, someone who had been on tour with them. The Spillage album itself would feature artists such as Ant Clemens, Ari Lennox, Buddy, Chance the Rapper, Masego, Lucky Day, and Big Rube.
Baby, I'm a king, I'm a god, a thug. My verses will live if I die from slugs. That shit is power, man, that shit is love.
Now, it seems as though whether they meant to do this or not, Spillage Village capitalized on Revenge of the Dreamers 3 and used them working together on that album with countless other artists as a way to kind of network and work on the Spillage Village album. It seems as though even since just that album 2 years ago, the group has made significant progress as individuals, with guys like Earthgang and JID seemingly only getting more traction. The question is, where do you guys think the future is going to go for Spillage Village? Do you think they're at their peak? They're going to only go up from here? Maybe they disband or something like that? I don't know what to expect, but I'd love to hear what you guys have to say.